This is an R Media podcast.
Love has never been one size fits all. And these are the stories we love to tell at the Australian Women's Weekly. For over 90 years, we've been bringing you stories of hope, of heart and connection that reflect the world we live in. And now it's time for a new chapter with the Australian Women's Weekly Love Stories podcast. This episode is made possible by Vixen. Hey Mum, I know you're as huge a fan of MasterChef as I am, and that you've heard all the stories about Julie Goodwin since I started working at the Weekly. But today I've got her coming on the podcast with her husband Mick, and they're going to talk through all of the highs and lows that have come in those years that have followed her win. Anyway, I'm looking forward to telling you all about it. I think it's going to be a really emotional one today, so I'll get my tissues ready. You might need them too. All right, I love you. I'll speak to you soon. Bye. A crazy thing happened back in 2009. Australia went crazy for cooking. Cookware retailers were selling out of specialised appliances. Coles was reporting spikes of 14,000% for some of their more specialised ingredients. And the term plating up, well, it went way beyond restaurants and into the popular vernacular. And at the very heart of that change was a very unassuming mum of three called Julie Goodwin. She was the very first winner of MasterChef Australia, and she became that warm and friendly face who would inspire millions of us around the country to try our hands at elevating home cooking into something special, both then and now. And by her side in the years that have followed, some years that have seen her hit some extraordinary lows along with those exceptional highs, has been the man that she calls her rock, her husband Mick. Their lives have exponentially changed throughout that time. But the one thing that hasn't is the true and steadfast love that they share. So how have they kept that on an even keel? This is a love story that describes just what happens when fame finds an ordinary family living an ordinary life. And it questions what keeps a couple grounded when their world changes overnight, both privately and publicly.
Even though Mick is my best friend in the world, and we've been best friends literally since we were kids, and he knows me better than any human being on earth, I think my best energy was put towards making sure he didn't know how bad I was, because he's the person I wanted to let down the least.
I'm Tiffany Dunk, and this is the Australian Women's Weekly Love Stories. Julie and Mick, thank you so much for joining us in our little love pad today. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you. It's gorgeous. It feels very homey, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Love
exactly.
it. Love
Well,
it.
with you here, it definitely feels like home for me now. I'm going to kick off with a random one. If you had a love song that really summed up the relationship you guys have, what love song would you choose?
Ooh. There's a couple that spring to mind for me. One was, so we were teenagers in the 80s, right, when we got together, and I remember Mick was never an overtly romantic kind of a guy. I'll put that as kindly as I can. And we were driving along one night along Pennant Hills Road, and the Angels came on. So he loves this sort of rock music, and the Angels came on and they were playing I Just Want to Be With You, and he just casually dropped on me, "This would be my song for you."
Oh,
Yeah, I
Mick.
think we're only a few months into the relationship. And
My heart. It did.
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So you said you're teenagers when you met. Set it up for me. Where were you? What happened? What did you think of each other when you first spotted each other?
Yeah, well, we met through St. Vincent de Paul Youth Group. So one of my good mates from high school, he was a school captain of St. Leo's College. Jules went to Hornsby Girls. She was a school captain.
Oh.
So Chris and Julie knew of each other through the school captain club. They used to meet up.
We did captainy things together, you know.
But, they went to the same church as well. And so post HSC, Chris bumped into Jules and said, "Why don't you come along?" And so we had this St. Vincent de Paul youth group going at school, and then Chris decided to sort of keep it going out of school, invited Jules along, and that's the first time I sort of met her. And I think we hung out there together for maybe 6 months
It was
before
about 9 months.
9 months before
Yeah.
Before he noticed that I was mooning after him.
What took you so long?
Oh, he's so slow.
Yeah, I am.
Slow
My
for everything.
My dad described me as slow and steady wins the race,
Oh,
and that
really?
really is me. I'm just super careful about everything I do, and
Mhm.
yeah.
I've had to develop a great amount of patience that does not come naturally.
So when you were at St Vincent de Paul's, you were doing a lot of local acts of service, is that right? You were doing
Yeah. So it was like a youth chapter of St Vinny's. You know, we all know Vinny's the charity. So mainly older people involved in that organisation. It certainly was back in the late 80s. And so we had a youth chapter of that. So we brought our youthful enthusiasm to it. And the sort of things the group did were, you know, we'd do a blanket drive and donate blankets to the homeless, or we'd do pamphlet drops for the senior Vinnies.
We raised money to put a poster in every high school in New South Wales, and it was a poem written by a heroin addict.
Yeah, it was a drug awareness campaign, and we spoke in sort of churches and schools all over the state and raised all this money to have that done. And then I think probably one of the main things we did was the Dawn Patrol. So we would get in a minibus and come down to King's Cross, and we'd go around to all the places where homeless people stayed and give out sandwiches and coffee and stuff like that.
So I guess, and you were doing this before you got together.
Yeah.
Do you think that acts of service, doing those kinds of things together, that really set the scene for the relationship that you would build together?
Yeah, 100%.
I guess we're both involved in that group because of our personal values.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that whole group, they were rough and ready bunch of Barara boys, and really outside my experience to be in a group like that. I was raised in a very matriarchal sort of family, an all-girls school and all of that. But it was a rough exterior, but all of them had these just beautiful hearts, and that was really demonstrated to me by the fact that they could joke and swear and smoke and all this, but still be giving up their Saturday night to hand out hot coffee to homeless men and women living on the streets of Sydney. And so I knew that under that exterior there was such goodness, and Mick had all that in spades, and I just really fell in love with that. I fell in love with his heart as well as his gorgeous self as well. Obviously, I'm only human, but yeah, it all began with a connection over those sort of shared values.
That's so wonderful.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the aha moment and how you got to realising that, hey, Julie might be the girl for me. When did that friendship turn into something more?
It was my 19th birthday. We were at Dollar Drinks at Hornsby RSL.
Celebrations nightclub. Oh, the days.
But I guess I had my eyes on Jules prior to that. It wasn't just a spur of the moment thing.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. Waiting for months.
As Jules alluded to earlier, I'm a bit slow on the uptake sometimes. And I just sort of thought she was out of my league, I didn't
really
sort of dare believe that could happen. And then, then I picked up a few signals and thought,
bricks to the
is that
head.
going on?
Yeah. Why did you think she was out of your league? What was the qualities about Julie that made you feel that way?
It was probably more, I don't know, just maybe some low self-esteem. I just struggled to, I didn't have many girlfriends growing up, and eventually got there.
Yeah. Did that surprise you to hear that, Julie?
No, I think I get that, but I don't know why he would have had low self-esteem.
Yeah.
He's so cool. He had an earring. He played the guitar, a very good guitarist. Played in a band. He had a mullet.
Oh, come on now.
Like, he was so cool. And I thought he was way out of my league because I was a very nerdy girl, very nerdy, bookish, not trendy or pretty or any of those things. So I felt like he was well out of my league. But I knew that I really liked him, he'd been in a serious car accident, and he and the guy that introduced us, Chris, were both in a serious car accident. Both of them broke both of their legs.
Oh.
And Mick was in hospital for a month.
Mhm.
So it was a serious, serious accident. And, other things went wrong as well. But the Westmead Hospital where he was on the same train line as Sydney Uni, where I was meant to be.
I remember that day, those days well, yeah.
Every day I'd pull up into Redfern Station and think, if I don't get off this train, it's going to come to Westmead Station and I can go and visit the boys in hospital. And so I spent a lot of time sitting by his bedside, and just his attitude to this accident. He was so positive, and that was when I fell in love. I just thought, this guy is something else. I don't think I've met anyone like this before. But I think that was cemented for me when we hadn't been going out for very long, and he dropped me at home. I lived at Normanhurst and he lived at Barara, about a 15-minute drive away. And he dropped me home in his red VK Commodore and said goodnight. And it was a very cool car, a very cool guy. and he got home, and about 15 minutes after he dropped me off, my phone rang, and it was, the phone in the hallway that everyone could listen in on. The landline. With the
take that
cord.
line out. And
just behind you there.
Yeah, that's it. And the phone rang, and it's just him on the other end of the line going, "You ought to see the moon. It's awesome. Go outside and have a look." And I just thought, this is a 19-year-old boy. I was so blown away by that. Not just that he noticed the beautiful full moon, but he knew I would love that and picked up the phone and rang me to tell me. And I just thought, this is my person.
Yeah.
This is my person. So that's when I locked and loaded, and he was not getting away after that.
Exactly. So we progressed really quickly, right, from those first days of dating to the proposal. What?
Oh, no, we didn't. Who gave you that idea?
Well,
4 years, Tiffany.
4 years.
4 years it took him to propose to me, and another year and a half to get married after that. What's this quickly business? No, I waited 4 years, and I was starting to pester him too, and by the time I was pestering him, he had a ring on lay-by, and so he wasn't willing to talk about it.
Yeah, I had
Oh, my God.
I had the plan. I was waiting for my tax to come through. I was paying fortnightly rent, and some months there were 3 fortnights in the month. So I sort of had planned around this, right? The 3 fortnights meant an extra paycheck where I could finish paying off the ring, had enough to take her out to dinner. And so I had it all planned, and about 2 weeks before, Jules has sort of said, "We've got to sit down, we've got to have a serious chat." I've gone, "Oh, no."
We'll talk about the future. It's time. Yeah. We've been together nearly 4 years.
And I'm trying to put her off, and I just said, "Look, I don't think I'm ready for this. Can you just give me a couple of weeks and we can sit down?" I've waited 4 years. I'm
you
not
better get ready, buddy.
But I managed just to delay and
calm me down.
Yeah. And then,
for our 4th anniversary, he took me out and proposed.
So
where did you go?
Sydney Tower, the revolving restaurant.
Oh, fancy!
Back in the day
then.
when it was fine dining.
Yeah.
We I had the ring in my pocket. We're all dressed up, and I popped the question. I was so nervous.
Really?
I don't know why. I couldn't have made it clearer.
It was just a big moment, I guess.
It is a big moment.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
And a funny story around that, I sort of, Jules had ducked off to the bathroom, and I quickly grabbed a waiter and I said, "Can you bring 2 glasses of champagne over?" And we'd also ordered a bottle of wine. And Jules got back from the bathroom, and just as the champagne was arriving, she goes, "Oh, no, that's not for us." And I said, no, it is. And anyway, she sat back down, and the champagne's there, and we had a toast. And so, my heart's probably at about 130 beats a minute, and I'm making sure, like, the ring's still there. I can feel it in my pocket. And so I launched into my spiel that I'd pre-written, rehearsed it 100 times, and I just got the first sentence out, and the wine waiter arrived and said, "Your wine, sir." And I went, sort of turned to him, and then I just blocked him out and just kept going. And all of a sudden he just
He
slowly...
tiptoed backwards and disappeared out of the frame. It was so funny. It was so funny.
And yeah, continued in and, I got the...
He got a yes.
Got a yes.
So
And then
thank
about
God.
15 minutes later, the wine waiter came back and said,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Yeah.
I know, how awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. But I wasn't going to stop at that point. I just thought,
Aw.
got to plough ahead.
I loved that proposal story. Totally worth waiting for. But I feel you, Julie. I know that was a real, thank goodness, at last moment. Coming up, we've got some really great tips about how to find connection when you're feeling lonely. See you in a minute. You know how your skin kind of tells its own story? Mine has definitely changed over time. Sun, stress, life, all of it. And that's why I've been keeping a close eye on Vixen. It's Australian-made skincare powered by plant stem cell technology, and it keeps things simple. One all-in-one cream that fits into your day, no fuss, just that lovely good skin feeling again. So the wedding then, a year and a half later, I know that probably felt like an eternity because you were so young too.
Yeah.
It feels like, maybe I'm looking at this from the lens of someone definitely not in their 20s, but
23.
Yeah. So you got married, you moved into your home, your beautiful first home.
Yeah.
Then came Joe.
Yes, yep. So we got married. We were 24 when we got married, and Joe came along about 11 months later. He's nearly a honeymoon baby. So he arrived right before Christmas,
Oh.
and that is, we've just celebrated his 30th birthday.
Oh my goodness.
I know. So so we had our beautiful little house, and we brought home this tiny little baby, and it was just beautiful. I'll never forget, we'd borrowed a video camera for the first days of his birth. I mean, it's so different now. You can capture whatever you like. It's really, people can complain about iPhones in your life, but it's actually beautiful what moments you can capture and just relive and enjoy. And we get to do that with our granddaughter, but back then we had to borrow, it was like a bus you had to put on your shoulder. No, they weren't that bad, but it was a big video camera. I had to put tapes in it and all of this. Yeah. And I just remember capturing this little video. We'd brought him home and he was still in his car capsule because he was sound asleep and we were too frightened to get him out because we didn't know what to do with him if we did. And he was on the couch and just panning from our beautiful Christmas tree in our lovely little house and just panning down to this perfect little tiny baby. And yeah, it was magic. It was absolutely magic.
3 under 4, was it?
3 under 3.
3 under 3.
Yeah.
Far out.
So when Paddy was born, he was my youngest baby. When he was born, Tom was 18 months old and Joe was 2 years and 9 months. So I had 3 under 3. It was a decision.
Yeah.
It was a wild decision that we made for some pretty frantic times, but 30 years on, it was good. It was a good decision.
Yeah.
They're real good brothers.
Yeah. I know you're sort of talking about the beauty of it, but I know there were some really tough times that went along with that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Just for everyone at home who probably knows what it's like or who can relate to that struggle of having young children and also, not living in the lap of luxury either. Yeah. Can you talk through those early struggles and what got you through as a couple?
Well, Mick was working in Sydney and we were on the Central Coast by then. So I was 12 hours of the day with these 3 babies. So poor Mick, he got home. There was no pipe and slippers waiting for him, I can assure you of that. And I had 12 hours with little children. And even when there was only one, even our first one, Joe, was colicky and screamed for much of the day. It was a lot. It was a lot. Very, very hard times. I wasn't keeping the house the way I wanted to. I wasn't, I had standards that I was not meeting. And so there was a lot of struggle in those times. And of course, money with only one income, 3 children, a mortgage, was so tight. It was so tight that we were scratching to get through those payments every month. And if a big bill came, it was like panic stations. So I remember all of that quite keenly, and all the things we used to do to try and keep the wolf from the door, you know, and the little bits and bobs of work that I could pick up. You know, Mick's sort of job paid the mortgage and the big bills, and what I could bring in was what went onto the table, and there was never extra for going out or anything. Oh, we had friends that didn't have children or a mortgage, and they'd be like, oh, we're not doing much this Friday, we're just going to get a case of beers and some pizza and have a night in. It's like, that just sounded, didn't it, like the most ridiculous extravagance we could think of. You know, I'd be scounging around in the pantry looking for a packet of dried pasta and hoping that I had a tin of tomatoes I could put with it to make a meal out of. And here's them casually dropping a week's worth of grocery money on an easy night in. And it was, yeah, you know, I mean, we were lucky because we had a roof over our heads and we had each other, and we had a job, you know, a good job that was able to cover that for us. So we were by no means destitute, but gee, you know, I think back at those times, and this is part of, you know, what we still believe and we still do, is that so many people are one small disaster from not being able to pay their mortgage, not being able to put food on the table, not being able to pay their rent and being evicted, you know, a health crisis or a job crisis, or your car exploding and not being able to get you where you need to be to earn an income. So we've lived on that wire, you know.
Yeah.
And those were the days when we did.
Coming up, the story of how Julie's life turned completely upside down with MasterChef, and then how she and Mick navigated this strange new world together with all the ups and downs that came their way. See you in a minute.
A warm hello to our new listeners. I'm Sophie, editor of the Australian Women's Weekly, and we're so happy you're joining us on this new chapter. For over 90 years, the Australian Women's Weekly has been a trusted home of real love stories, the kind that are messy and funny and quietly miraculous, just like real life, and just what we all need right now. Now, with the Australian Women's Weekly Love Stories, we're wrapping those stories around you in lots of new ways. Online, in your ears, wherever you are, making it easy as possible for you to enjoy. So, if you've grown up with the Weekly or you're just finding us now, welcome. And we'd love you to come on this new adventure with us, exploring every kind of love and the real things that matter to all of us. And because you're listening, and we value that, we've got something special just for you. A discounted subscription to the Australian Women's Weekly, so you can dive even deeper into the stories you're liking. Just head to womensweekly.com.au to find out more. And thank you so much for being part of our Love Stories family. Now back to the chat.
You obviously were being very inventive with mealtimes, as you said. You were doing it a little tough financially.
Yeah.
So talk to me about how MasterChef came to be. And what did you think, Mick, when Julia said, hey, I think I might apply for this show?
Well, I really had no idea what she was getting into. I mean, she didn't either. But yeah, as it wore on, and, you know, it started off, she needed to take a day off work. Out of the business. And then she needed to take, 3 days off, and then she was going to be out for a week, and then all of a sudden she was going to be out for this unknown amount of time. I just thought, well, how's this going to work, you know?
So mildly disruptive.
Yeah, because how old were the kids at this point?
They're in primary school, so they're in years 4, 5 and 6 when I applied, and they were in years 5, 6 and 7 when I went on. Literally the very start of their school year, or prior to the start of their school year. So it was, yeah.
Still
but
young
in terms of transitioning from not having much money into being able to cook on that show, those are directly linked. And it made sense to me once when Matt Preston said that the best cuisine of any nation comes from its poverty, right? So you think about when people are really hungry, how inventive they've got to be. And that's why human beings figured out they could eat kidneys and other things, gross things like that, and weird vegetables and all that sort of stuff. And that's what builds an identity, a cultural identity. And I sort of thought, I think that's what happened in my house.
Yeah.
From the poverty of not having much to eat. I couldn't walk down and buy the best piece of fish or the best piece of steak or whatever. I had to make do with what I could scrounge together. And because I love food and I love eating and I love feeding the people I love, I wanted to make it as good as I possibly could for as little as I possibly could. And that stood me in awesome stead in the MasterChef kitchen, because I was able to get flavour out of not much, you know. So that quote has always stayed with me as an absolute truth, and I think it's true of nations, and I think it's true of households. So that allowed me to be inventive and to go into that with just a, you know, that mindset of God, you know, mystery box. I used to call that Tuesday night dinner. It's like you lift the mystery box, you open the fridge. What's in there? What can I make out of it? That was the mystery box was my favourite. The ones I didn't like so much were the ones where it was like the invention test, which I likened to walking into the supermarket 30 minutes before you've got to put dinner on the table and there's too much choice.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can afford anything you want because nothing cost anything in the pantry. Too much choice overwhelmed me. It was that real restricted ingredient list that's where I was at home, because that's what I'd been doing for 20 years before I went on MasterChef.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's almost impossible to understate how huge that show was. I mean, I was amongst the people, and I'm sure a lot of people listening today were amongst those people tuning in, because there'd never been anything like it on television before. And you went from someone who was, you know, mum of 3 at home to this recognisable face, not just in Australia, but probably other countries as well, right?
I get messages. I can always tell where MasterChef's airing around the world because I get messages from that part of the world, and sometimes I have to put them into Google Translate to know what they're saying.
Wow.
I've had messages from Russia and all sorts of places,
Yeah.
Well, I remember we did that trip to India, and we're walking up a street, and this lady just came up to Julie and said, "Are you Julie from MasterChef?"
Yeah. It's so random.
Wow.
Well, I am, but I didn't know I was here. It did. And now the Australian format's gone all over the world, and lots of countries use the same sort of format. Yeah.
How did it affect you? I mean, fame, it's a weird beast, right? How did it affect you as a couple, as a family? How did you navigate that strange new world? And especially you, Mick.
Yeah, look, I've got to say it's lucky it didn't happen to me, because I just don't think I have patience with people. But I was a bit weirded out at first. So would go out shopping, and strangers would come up to Julie and kiss her on the face and hug her. And I just thought, if someone did that to me, like someone I didn't know, I'd be calling out for the police or something. But
I actually think that part of the reason we managed it as a couple was the age I was when it happened. So I was 38 years old. I had kids. I had a mortgage. I knew the story of life, you know. I wasn't young. I think if that had happened when I was young, because it's easy for all those voices to get in your head and go, oh, gosh, fabulous, you know. But I
just think that on a daily basis, Julie.
I had people keeping me grounded, Tiffany. I had children who still wanted me to drop their PE gear to them at 11 o'clock in the morning. You know, I was kept very grounded, and Mick's just such a grounded human being and a very steady, calming influence. And my boys were very much the same. They all just took it on board and in their flow. And because Mick is who he is, there was no, you know, he might have talked about low self-esteem as a teenager, but there's none of that. There's none of that now. He knows who he is, and he's comfortable enough in our relationship to not be threatened by any of that, to have not said the goalposts have changed here and I'm uncomfortable. None of that occurred. He just kept sailing along, and when things went up and down and sideways for me, he's just remained that for me always. And my boys have done the same, haven't they? They're just so cool, so chill. We'd be walking through the shops and I'd be stopped. And in the early days it was incessant. I actually, if I needed to duck to the shops for something, I needed to leave myself a good couple of hours to do it, because there was a lot of people wanting to chat, and I get that. But the boys would just be standing by and people would want a photo and, you know, Joe would say, "Oh, do you want me to take it?" You know, it just all flowed over and around them, and they took it all in their stride. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah.
It was also, I mean, it came with some great benefit, you know. We got to do overseas trips as a family and, you know, got to go to sporting events and
things you never dream of. Things you never dream of.
It was,
Come and cook for us at the weekly.
100%. Man.
Yes.
I should have mentioned that first.
Yeah.
Well,
That's okay. I got it in there. You talk about as things went all crazy for you, and obviously we haven't touched on mental health yet, but that has been a huge part of your journey individually as a couple, because whilst all of this amazing stuff was happening for you, you were having some pretty rocky times personally. Yeah. Can you tell me how you were getting through those early times and what kept you going?
Look, always what's kept me going and grounded has been my family, obviously. But I think in the sort of earlier stages of the sort of downhill slide that was happening for me, what kept me going was all the disorders that I had going on. So, you know, that after going through a lot of therapy, I understand that I have what's known as a schema of unrelenting standards, also known as perfectionism. I had, you know, a lot of fear around around letting people down and around not appearing to be on top of everything and all this sort of stuff, which is actually, it helps you through a lot of things, but it also, if you can't moderate that, it can also be a really hard downfall. So a lot of the stuff that was occurring for me came from childhood, it came from teenage years, it came from stuff that happened in my early adulthood, and it all accumulated to being, once I hit a point where there was absolutely no time for any of the restorative things in life, like proper time with family, rest, self-care, good sleep, all of that sort of stuff. When all of that was out the window, then everything else that had been accumulating throughout my life just, it chopped me off at my knees. So that's when, if you know, I'm very, very lucky that I had this bedrock surrounding me, because it would just have gone very differently if I didn't.
Without making you both relive the whole story and the whole situation, Mick, can you tell me when you first became aware that Julie was having some struggles beyond, you know, I know that there was some postpartum at some times, that there's been definitely struggles, but when did you see that there was a lot happening that felt a bit outside your control?
Like I guess she struggled to a degree throughout, from the early days right through, you know, in different ways and at different times as well when things got super busy. But yeah, I just sort of thought that was life, you know. And then as she got more and more unwell, I guess she was clever at disguising it and carrying on, but I guess I feel quite a bit of guilt around not identifying those things earlier and doing something about it.
What sort of things do you feel you should have identified?
There were just, I guess, some behaviours and just her general health wasn't great. And and obviously looking back at what happened, I'm thinking, well, if only I did this at this time, it wouldn't have got to that. You know, so
I think it's really important to address here for anyone listening that guilt that Mick feels is he shouldn't. It's not his to carry, and that people who are trying really hard to not burden other people become very, very good at masking what's going on. And I've been masking stuff for my whole life. So I was extremely accomplished at it. So accomplished at it that my brain even gave up and just sent all those symptoms out to my body. So I became really physically unwell, which is harder to mask because when you physically can't do stuff, or when you physically, you know, got issues, that's a lot harder to pretend that you don't have those. You know, if you've got cold sores all over your lips and scabs on your head and all that sort of stuff, it's a lot harder to hide. And the shakes, you know. it becomes a matter of just your whole identity's wrapped up in keeping that facade going. So even though Mick is my best friend in the world, and we've been best friends literally since we were kids, and he knows me better than any human being on earth, I think my best energy was put towards making sure he didn't know how bad I was, because he's the person I wanted to let down the least, which of course means he's the person I let down the most. But that guilt is so unwarranted. And so for anyone who is trying to help somebody who's going through a mental health issue, just understand, just being there is the best thing in the world that you can do. And you cannot know everything that's going on until that person's ready. And all you've got to do is prepare that space for when they're ready to step into it. But other than you can't know more than what you're told. You can have suspicions and you can prepare the earth for them to come and, plant the plant and tell the story, but you can't force it up out of the ground. You can just prepare the ground, that's all. So it hurts my heart to hear him say he carries guilt around that, because he honestly would have had to have been some kind of Nostradamus to see through what I had been carefully constructing for decades.
Yeah. I think that is an incredibly relatable story to anyone who has had any kind of hardship, but especially around mental health, the idea that you have to hide it. There's still that huge sense of shame. And I think, Julie, you speaking about it here and in many other forums is helping a lot of other people. I know it's helped me. I hope it's helping people who are listening and watching today. I hope it's helping us all be a little bit more forward with our feelings and sharing, because once, what is it, a problem shared is a problem halved. It sounds like such a cliche, but
it's not a cliche. And I've got one to add to that, which is shame dies in daylight. So sorry, I just got goosebumps. Shame dies in daylight. And I've been able to put out all this stuff right out into the daylight, and some of the behaviours Mick was talking about, I was drinking too much. That made me so ashamed, but it felt like the thing that was getting me through. So I hid and I didn't talk about it. And, and there were a few behaviours like that, where I just couldn't complete tasks. I couldn't do the things I was meant to be doing. I was skating by on an absolute thread, and I was so ashamed of myself because I was dropping the juggling balls. I wasn't performing any of the jobs that I had to the ability that I should have been performing them to. I was not available to my family as a safe person or a support, So I had shame around every single facet of my life. And it wasn't until I completely surrendered, went to a hospital and just said, here I am, do with me what you will. I'll follow any instruction you give me, because me trying to sort this out for myself has literally almost killed me. So I just surrendered. I handed over. It didn't work instantly. It was not a straight line. I still needed a lot of understanding, a lot of support, a lot of forgiveness from the people around me. But and especially the writing of the book and everything, it's out there now. And I can tell you honestly that I can talk about these things still with some regret. I'll never stop regretting some of that stuff. But the shame has died in the daylight. I'm able to talk about it. I'm able to process it. We're able to now try and use that as a call to others that might be feeling that shame, that might be exhibiting those behaviours, that might be feeling those feelings or living down in that deep, dark well and unable to find a way out. Just step on out into the light. It dies in daylight.
That's so wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Mick, for playing such a huge role in, getting Julie that help. If you haven't read Julie's book, I would highly encourage you to. It's a really powerful read. It made me fall in love with you as well a little bit. I'm going to be honest. Mick. You're such an exceptional human being and an exceptional partner. How do you feel listening to Julie talk and knowing that this is the effect your actions have had maybe?
I mean, we've been married for 30 years and, we signed up to a life together and life's a roller coaster. So it's just it's what I signed up for. And, yeah, it sort of makes it all sound very one-sided, that she's just this unwell person who's struggling with life and I'm there sort of lifting her up. But we've been a formidable pair since we got together, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We've done everything together and she props me up and makes me brave. We drag each other outside of our comfort zones to fully experience life together. So, yeah, it's a partnership, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard it described as, this would be, I think after 30 years I get to say this would be my advice, I guess, to anyone setting out or trying to find a way to be in a partnership, is that you're not opposing each other. It's not me trying to make sure that I'm looked after in that partnership and Mick trying to make sure that he's looked after in that partnership. It's being shoulder to shoulder and facing outwards together. And whatever's coming is coming for us both or at us both, and we get to enjoy it together or we get to fight it together, we get to navigate it together, but understanding that we're shoulder to shoulder facing in the same direction. We are not pulling against each other. And sometimes you've got to remind yourself of that. It's like, well, hang on, let's just slow this talk down. We both want the same thing. We both want the same thing, and we always have. So we're taking a different approach to that at the moment, but we know that we're both heading for the same point. So these lines have to cross somewhere. And we'll just keep heading in that same direction together towards that point that we know we want to get to.
Yeah. And it's never as simple as that. Like sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't feel like that, right? Sometimes feel like we're pulling in opposite directions.
But when you reset and you remember and start heading for that little dot on the map, and you know, we end up there together all the time, don't we?
Yeah. Well, on a much more joyful and positive note, you've got a new generation of Goodwins now in the form of your beautiful granddaughter, Delilah. Tell us about how having a grandchild has changed your relationship again.
Oh, it's, you know, and again, it was in the writing of my life story that I got to fully understand that I fell in love with a teenager, and then I fell in love with a young married man who was setting off on a career path, and then I fell in love with a young dad who was extraordinary with his sons, you know, and, you know, we were raised by a generation where the dads weren't very hands-on. I fell in love with his young dad who was so hands-on and just delighted in his 3 little boys. Fell in love with a business owner who started up an enterprise that is so ethical and wonderful that it's won awards for its ethics. And not quite 5 years ago, I got to fall in love with a grandfather. And he's a beautiful grandfather. And she is, oh, my God, she's so divine. And, you know, you hear grandparents, and it's so boring until you are one. You hear grandparents all the time go, oh, there's nothing like it. It's so different to your own kids. Like over and over and over you hear it, and then you finally get there and it's like, oh, my God, I understand. It's different. It's not greater than. It's just different too, and it comes without all that stress, all the mortgage stress and all the, you know, all the worries about how they'll turn out, because, you know, mine are
feeding
okay.
them and making sure they're
got manners, you know. I don't care if she's got manners. That's her parents' job, you know. But it's just pure joy.
Yeah.
Pure joy.
And
She's
a
gorgeous.
little girl, after raising 3 sons.
Rambunctious little
and when
boys.
we found out they were having a girl. It's like,
I love that you almost said where we were having.
Yeah. Oh.
a little girl.
We had her.
Like, what do you do with little girls? This is going to be strange.
It's not at all.
No,
it's not at all. Little kids are little kids.
Yeah.
They're all so individual, and her, you know, once again, in this way, it is like parenting, is that there's one person who knows exactly how I feel that I can turn to, and with just not even fully make eye contact, we both know, did you clock that? My God, that was so cute. I don't even need to look at him. I feel that pulse of energy between us. Oh, my God, did you see that? Or, oh, did you hear that? Or, oh, my God, that was just like her father. It's like watching Tom all over again, the things she does and the things she thinks are funny and the fart jokes. Like, it's unbelievable how much she's like her father, and it connects you in a whole new way, and it's just divine.
Well, we were very fortunate to spend the day with you and your family. I can attest she is indeed a delight, and I'm not biased at all. Julie, we spoke about your book, Your Time Starts Now, a bit earlier. I don't think I plugged the title, but it'll be in the show notes, I promise. You're about to go on the road. Can you tell us a little bit about what's Your Time Starts Now tour is going to be?
Well, it's a live stage show, and of course the story is going to be in there. There's going to be some live cooking, which is, what I do, and also some bit of MasterChef behind the scenes, memories, all the stuff that's happened since. And I'll talk through, that sort of timeline and the stuff that we've been talking about today. A bit of chat. It's my radio co-host is coming on the road with me, and he'll be sort of facilitating that chat. There'll be, very interactive with the audience, so questions.
A lot of kissing of the face.
Oh, please bring it on. I love it. But, yeah, a real opportunity just for me to get out amongst it. We're starting in regional areas, and I'm really excited just to go into towns and get face-to-face with people. That's what I love.
Well, I encourage everybody to go and get your ticket, because if I know anything about you, it's that it's going to be a really fun time and good food. As we wrap up with you guys today, I'd love to know, you made a promise to each other 30 years ago when you got married. What promise, sitting here right now, would you like to make to each other?
Oh, gosh, I think back then we added some stuff into our vows. It wasn't every day that people wrote their own vows, but we added in, along with, love and honour, and we added accept and respect and a few other key words. And, I would just renew that promise, that I will continue to fall in love with whatever iteration of Mick comes next. I've fallen deeply in love with every single one I've ever met, and whatever the future holds, we've got exciting things ahead. We've got a lot of time together ahead in the next few years, and I'm buckled up and strapped in for this ride that we've been on for all these years.
And for me, I mean, I've already made that promise, so. We met a couple last night who have been married for 60 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, let's aim for that one, I guess.
That's the next goal, yeah.
And we're sort of entering just a really exciting time in our lives, grandkids, thinking about, transitioning from full-time work into retirement. So, yeah, I just looking forward to the next stage of life where we just slow it all down and, just hang out and keep it going.
I love that. I love that. I love you both. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tiff. It's been lovely. Lovely chat.
Yeah, thank you.
How beautiful was that to hear that Julie plans to fall in love with every iteration of Mick to come. What a glorious couple. I love them. I love how relatable their story is, as well as being incredibly epic. As much as things have gone sideways for Julie and Mick has been there for her, the same has been true in reverse. They've really gone shoulder to shoulder and attacked everything together. Speaking of which, this episode has brought up a lot of issues, and if you feel triggered or that you need some support in any kind of situation, Lifeline is available 24/7, and we have a link to where to find them on our show notes. Thank you so much for being a part of this incredible conversation today. We hope to bring you many more just as wonderful. So please jump into our show notes and let us what you think. And you can also find out more about this podcast at womensweekly.com.au. Until next time, I hope to see you soon. This episode has been made possible by Vixen.
This is an R Media podcast.